Hey everyone, welcome back to the Urban EV podcast. If you're passionate about EVs, charging infrastructure, and user experience, then make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. I'm your host, Rob Hoffman, along with Scott Murphy, and we're so glad you're joining us here today. Don't forget, you can also catch us on all of your favorite streaming platforms or YouTube for a more visual experience. Today's guest is Chris Russo, SmartCharge Clean Energy Program Manager at Con Edison. Chris brings a rare perspective. He came out of Tesla's fast-paced world of EV innovation and now works inside one of the country's oldest and most reliability-focused utilities. We'll talk about what he learned at Tesla, how Con Ed is modernizing the grid without compromising reliability, and how SmartCharge New York is using real charging data to shape the city's EV future. Let's jump into it. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
All right. So why don't we talk about your transition from Tesla to Con Edison and how your experience at Tesla shaped your understanding of EV adoption and user behavior?
Yeah, I'm one of there's actually two big lessons I learned when I was at Tesla, or it's actually you can kind of summarize it into one, but it's really just simplifying the process and and making it so it's easily digestible, right? So not coming at it from that technical perspective, talking about kilowatts all the time and how complicated charging can be, but more understanding where they are and explaining to it from there, right? And meeting them where they are. A lot of big things that Tesla did to get in front of people and promote the brand was those mall locations were a really big thing. And Lucid's actually taking the same approach for that to get in front of people. They have a lot of locations in malls, taking advantage of those high traffic locations and not making it like this brand that you can't touch or that it's only for luxury people, right? They wanted everyone to do it. So we would bring everyone in and anybody off the street, right? Like even if there was a 15-year-old kid who's like, oh, I've never been in the car, like, oh, cool, you want to ride in the back? I'll drive it for you just so you can see how it is. And that really helped build that brand. And taking from the perspective of SmartCharge, right? Like when I came in here for some of the communications, one of the big things I did was simplify it for people. When you're charging off peak hours, you get that 10 cents per kilowatt, but being like, hey, $400 you get per year, which registers better with people than that 10 cents. It's like, what is 10 cents per kilowatt? What does that even mean?
Well, on that note, let's just back up for a second because I'm sure most of the listeners at home have no idea what Smart Charge is. And this is an incredible program which incentivizes charging at the right time. So basically, there's a whole load balancing thing going on here. But take us back. Explain to us the genesis of Smart Charge and what it's doing to help electrify New York right now.
Yeah, so SmartCharge, we have that's like a branding kind of for what we call managed charging, right? And it's basically helping to move the energy generated from electric vehicles during those peak times to those off-peak times where it's more tenable for the grid and easier for it for the energy to be generated where it's not going to have as big of an impact, right? So the Smart Charge New York program is specifically for our residential customers, and we incentivize people for charging between midnight and 8 a.m. in the morning, and then rewarding them for that behavior.
And go a little deeper. Explain to us why that's so important. Why we all know the rates are cheaper at night, but why are they so cheap at night?
We call it a good way to think about it is like flattening the curve, right? You think of a normal graph where it's like it kind of peaks like this, right? That's what we're trying to prevent here. The problem in the grid is not when you're charging during the night. It's when everyone's using energy at the same time that creates those big stresses on the grid. So by taking that share of those EVs that are charging during those peak hours and moving it towards maybe down here, that is a much better grid health, and much better for everyone as a whole. It helps reliability significantly for everybody.
Is this a Con Ed issue, or is this something that all utilities across the planet have to deal with?
Most the I don't want to say the majority because I don't know about every utility, but they're all the big utilities.
No, I mean, this is
Oh,
a pretty universal thing.
yeah.
I mean, and by the way, this has been going on well before EV charging. I mean, if you think about when they started introducing the smart thermostats you know,
Yes.
in the
Correct.
late,
Yeah.
early 90s, I think is when that started coming out. That was all about, dropping that demand, dropping the peak demand as much as possible. So yeah, but I think the way this is done, the way this is executed from Con Ed, I haven't seen anything like this before in terms of the process for consumers, which was what was super interesting to me.
Yeah, there's quite a few things that we're doing that that is pretty unique to the rest of the industry in the way they're doing their smart charge programs
Well,
or
let's
their
let's get
managed charging.
let's get into it because I personally have an experience here. So I have to take a little side note here for a second. So I met Chris at Electrify Expo. He was a panelist over there, and when I heard the word smart charge, that's where, needless to say, a light bulb went off in my head here, metaphorically anyway, because I use it. I personally use it, and I was just so blown away by the utility of it and how consumer friendly it is as well. It's not a product I would expect from a conservative utility like Con Ed. They have an amazing app. And the way they found me was when I was charging at the Flow Public Level 2 chargers. I saw a sign over there, hey, sign up for a program, get incentivized, get money back. Who doesn't like free money? It's like free t-shirts. Everyone's like on board for that. Let's do it. And the app itself is not just some sort of boring, clunky, bad UI app. It feels like an app that something would have been produced at Tesla. It's slick. It makes sense. It shows me how much money I'm saving and how much I'm getting back. It's literally plugged into my Venmo account and just funnels me money. What's not to love? All right, so talk to us a little more about how you developed it and what's going on, what the consumer response has been, besides me.
Yeah. So, well, actually, you said you found it at like the flow charger. So, how long did you have your car before you knew about it? That's a question.
Not long. I had just gotten it. I was like, this is cool. It was maybe one of my first or second public charging experiences, so I probably had the car for all of a week or two.
Yeah, and one of those. Well, maybe we'll touch on it later. But one of those things we do, right, is like the majority of people in New York use those public charging stations. So we have employed brand ambassadors over the last couple of years to be on the ground talking to those people that are at chargers, which is something nobody else is doing. Um, but building that program, so the program's actually been around for roughly 7 years, right? And the first iteration of it, you had to use one of those plug-in devices when you plug in your car. So you plug in your car and plug that in, and it report back. Some of the reporting wasn't the best. Like it was, some of the numbers were muddy. So in 2023, we looked to relaunch it instead of using that plug-in plugin device. We were looking for more streamlined approach. We talked to a few different vendors. We wound up going with EV.Energy, which is the app that you use. And now it's more based on either the car telematics or the charger data, right? And early on in that 2023, I think we had about 6,300 people that were participating in the program. But today it's multiplied by almost 5 times. Right now we have
Wow,
30,000, roughly like 30,000 people are participating, which is approximately 30% of all the EVs registered in New York. So it
incredible.
has really, really taken off.
That
I mean,
that's
what
that,
was interesting about it to me was that you could reach the home charger. So those obviously the people who have a charger at home, and that totally makes sense. I'm paying Con Ed for my electricity, but you could also reach guys like Rob who are not charging at home, who equally potentially deserve to save money, equally can help
Yeah,
you balance
absolutely.
the load on the grid, maybe even more so because he's tapping into, level 3 or, DC fast charging more frequently. That to me was what was super exciting about this was like, look, of course there's going to be some kind of homeowner program to do off-peak charging. That totally made sense. But the fact that you can get at the urban EV owner, I mean, it is the urban EV podcast. You can get at the urban EV owner who isn't charging at home. That to me that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the biggest thing, right? Reaching a lot of those homeowners, it's easy, especially because like sometimes vehicle registrations cannot be like exactly where people are. That it tends to be more accurate at like people who own a home. But getting those people on the ground and talking to people at those charging stations was a really big like a light bulb for us. Basically, it's like, oh, like what do we do? We're sending out these emails and these flyers. Let's just go meet people where they are.
people get so married to the digital world that yeah, it's amazing what a brand ambassador will do, and that's very likely how I can't remember now because it was a little over a year ago, but it was probably a brand ambassador that told me about it. I think
Yeah,
that's how it happened.
yeah.
Okay, so I know what's in it for me. Let's talk about more what's in it for you, for Con Ed. What is Smart Charge teaching Con Ed about the real world EV usage and how are you using that data?
Yeah, I mean, one big thing is that the program's effective, right? We send out, I don't know if you got it, Rob, but we send out a survey yearly, just to see like what people think about the program, like how effective it is, if they really even notice it. And one thing that we did notice is we asked people flat out, like, does this affect your charging behavior? And 80% of people who responded to that, which is almost half the program, said yes. So we know that it's effective. And then if you look at the data deeper, we asked them when they would normally charge, and 46% of respondents said they would charge on the peak or they would charge whenever their car demanded them from the charge, right? Which can land anywhere, but a lot of times the peak usage is for a reason. It's probably somewhere near the peak. So based on that, we know that it's working and helping to like save megawatts off of this peak time, right? Which you're going to hear me keep talking about, but it's really like our one of the biggest things about the program is preserving that reliability, because those peak times, that peak energy usage is what really affects that reliability for our customers.
So, needless to say, as EV adoption continues to grow, I'm sure you have your eyes on it. I'm sure this data is also showing you, all right, this is where we are right now. And EV adoption in the US or New York is probably about 15% or something along those lines. How are we going to be when it's at 100 or 50 even? Um, do you have contingency plans in place? How are you going to manage this as this continues to grow?
Yeah, so that kind of there's a few things here, right? We I smart chargers are part of a larger e-mobility department. Smart charge is like we said, the managed charging portion of it, which we have one for commercial charger owners. Basically, we incentivize them to limit the energy draw during those peak times. Not I'm not talking, they're not limiting it 90%, but they're limiting it somewhat to help save some energy. And then also the Power Ready programs, and that is a program designed to help install this charging infrastructure. And then we have advisory services for people who are looking to install and figure out like to get through the permitting process and who to talk to and what they need to get ready to do these charger installs. And so as more of these chargers come on, more of these EVs come in, you start to see like chargers become full and then maybe some lines form, and then it just working with some of these outside companies and developing and building in new chargers and almost advising them what makes the most sense, because we're seeing heavy charger usage here, the utilization here is high. That helps us develop it. And we also do have some proactive planning stuff. We're constantly looking through data to see where potential EVs are really popping up, right? We do have registration data and seeing where, like what zip codes people are registering in, that helps narrow down where, and then proactively building up that infrastructure there in anticipation for these EVs popping up.
Well, you mentioned Power Ready. Let's dive a little deeper into that program as well, which I'm somewhat aware of, but I'd love for you to kind of really go through the details here. You're really once again incentivizing level 2, level 3 charging, and once again to build things out. So you're looking basically to grab partners, incentivize them now, so essentially you can save money or save headaches later, right? Talk to us a little more about how that works and what's going on with that program.
Yeah, I mean, it's we help subsidize the cost of installing chargers, right? We actually um there a big focus of that too is making sure it's in we call it a DAC, a disadvantaged community. So we have roughly 2,000 chargers that we've built inside DAC locations, and right now the program, we have so many applications, we're pushing to really get through them and making sure it is we're keeping up with the demand, right? But
It's a good
it's
problem to have, I suppose.
yeah, absolutely, right? This is the whole the point of some of these programs is this this EV adoption that's coming. Um, that we want to be prepared. We want the city to be ready for it. And Power Ready isn't just for light duty vehicles. We have a program, a pilot actually for micro mobility for e-bikes. We're also looking for the medium heavy duty market, right? Like a lot of these electric school buses that are starting to pop up. I think we just got one of the first electric garbage trucks, if I remember
Mm.
properly. I was talking to a colleague about that the other day. But yeah, Power Ready is about supporting that infrastructure, building it, helping subsidize the utility side costs, and getting those chargers in.
Well, I know we don't typically talk a lot about e-mobility over here. As far as micro e-mobility, I take that back. That is Scott's world. So we'll just
Mhm.
do a real quick side conversation on that. I'd love to hear a little more about how you're helping that market grow as well.
Yeah. Right now it's more right now it's very boots on the ground actually. We have a few people going to businesses, seeing the appetite people have for those e-bikes. And we're also working with the fire department to make sure
Mm.
like this meets all of the standards. Basically, we have a few people going around, going to businesses, talking to buildings specifically about the benefits of the program. Like it's focusing on like installing a charging cabinet at these locations so people can charge their e-bike batteries inside of those cabinets to kind of streamline the process, avoid any potential safety concerns, and make it better.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know there's a few battery swapping, I think, pilots going on already with some food delivery companies. And I know so what Rob is talking about is we do subscription e-bikes with unlimited battery swapping. And we centralize and off peak all of our charging for all the reasons that everybody else should.
that's in Valencia,
So
Spain, by the way, where
yeah,
Scott's located.
I'm in Spain. So when you
Okay,
talk
I
about,
was like,
yeah, we're not in New York, but big fan of what you guys are doing, and Swabi I know is doing a pilot program there, so there's quite a lot going on there. I think yeah, it's battery swapping infrastructure for micromobility is obviously something that's coming, and part of the reality of that is solving, as you mentioned, for the kind of fire safety issues and all of that. But I think we talk mostly about cars. But even offering similar types of incentives to those micromobility operators, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and part of like the sustainability and all that too is also making sure those people are the city's bikeable basically, and it's easy access to any of those e-bike charging.
All right. So why don't we talk about the next 5 to 10 years? It seems like you got your plate full over there at Con Edison. Reliability is obviously number one. What are you going to be doing? What are the grand plans over the next few years to basically continue that level of service while at the same time expanding and meeting all of your goals?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking with people regularly about what the future looks like. And I mean, there are conversations I have in the last 2 weeks that a year ago I didn't think were going to be possible for another few years. We're not doing this, we're not doing it immediately. We're still kind of feeling the waters out, but like the vehicle to grid stuff is coming. There's some utilities doing active managed charging. We're not quite jumping into yet, but we're always looking and seeing what that looks like. We're also looking to grow what the SmartCharge program looks like and the accessibility of it, right? Again, going back to meeting people where they are, I can't say exactly who, but we're talking to some manufacturers to potentially get the enrollment directly inside of their app in certain circumstances. There's quite a bit going on that I'm running through my head at figuring out what I can say.
I'm sure most of you can't talk about right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of it we're close to making like deals on and working on the actual details, but can't
That's
quite see.
it's all good. I'm excited. I'm excited to be continued on those topics. But I want to circle back right now to vehicle to grid. It's a utility that's been available with certain EVs for quite a few years. And the first time I heard about it, I'm like, this is brilliant. Every car is a part of the grid. This is like a microgrid strategy. How many batteries are out there that kind of pour energy back into the grid? Yet we don't do that here in New York. This utility, I believe, is not accepting juice coming back in the other direction. Is that just such a technical hurdle that it's almost like can't be done or be not worth the effort? Because clearly, in the end, if you could activate it, it would benefit Con Ed. I
Mhm.
imagine anyway.
Yeah, I think part of it is that installing it in your home is still pretty expensive right now. So I don't know how much participation we would have in it. And again, it's not that we're not open to it. It's just that it's something that we're still exploring, but we haven't made a decision on yet, I will say.
Fair enough. And I'm sure in the end, it's when you really look underneath the hood, there's so many technical challenges and whatnot. So I'm sure you realize there's great utility in this, but it may not be worth the effort. I assume that's the takeaway here.
Yeah, I mean, even just coming from a personal perspective, right? I just got solar on my house and I was looking into getting like a backup battery, and the solar guy's like, hey, we just wait for a vehicle to grid.
And that's your backup battery. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I was also looking at the cost right now, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just like do it now. And it was like $3,000 or $4,000, and I was no, wait, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's where we need these incentives from from your utility. You're like, okay, I'll do it. If you're going to subsidize it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But money makes the world go round. So
Well,
yeah, there's that sort of long term ROI, which is sometimes when you're personal private owner, it's kind of you see it, but you're just like, I'd rather not.
well, and
Um,
actually going back to like the EV thing too is like it's great. S- like the sustainability part of it's great. Like the clean energy is great, but also people don't do things because it's like sustainable. They do it because it
No,
makes
God, no.
sense.
No, they do it to save money. 100%. Well, that actually kind of leads into a question I had for you. I know that you talked about the plug-in device and making the switch, and what is kind of the biggest behavior change you saw, whether it's with the plug-in device or not? I think maybe you saw a significant change when you made the kind of more streamlined process. But what is that like stickiest behavior change you saw in users that then actually helped support the grid?
Well, so one of the things we do right on the program is that it's a set it, forget it. So you set the charging one time and it's you don't have to worry about it anymore. But I think it's really just the charging times, right? People don't like when they initially get their car, they're not really aware of the impact charging their car can be at 2 p.m., at 3 p.m. But incentivize them to charge during off-peak hours and then also rewarding them for those, and that's actually something we haven't gone over yet, but rewarding them for those avoided summer peak charging times makes them more aware, but also they just schedule their charging too and to not happen during those times. And
Was there anything like unexpected, I think particularly from the switch from the plug-in to the more streamlined, like anything that you just were like, whoa, we that came out of left field?
I mean, I was surprised how many people said they were charging during peak times. I didn't think it was that high. Like some of those surveys are like consistent. Like, hey, I was charging my car. Like even if it was like as soon as I got home from work, which some people are 5, 6 p.m. Like that's a big spike at 5 or 6 p.m. Right? But I guess it's not so much the behaviors of people. But one thing when I started that was surprising to me is how hard it is to give people free money. That is one big thing that was surprising to me. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's hard to sign people up. And, people just have their, like, when they don't understand what it is, there's almost like, it's called, maybe this is, it's called raising their consciousness, right? Like, you
Yeah.
explain to them, we're Con Edison, we're trying to give you money for free. And they're like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what are you
It
talking
No, but
does
it's
it.
New
When I
Yorkers,
first
man.
heard
It's New
it,
Yorkers. Come on. No
Chris,
New Yorker is going to sit there. What free money? Come on.
there's
What's
no
the
such
catch? What's
thing.
the catch? Yeah,
I
there's
thought
no
the
such
same
thing.
thing when that ambassador spoke to me. I was like, or when I, at least when I kind of clicked on the link and looked at the program, I'm like, where's the catch?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the
What's going
scam? What's
on
the
here? What are you
scam?
trying to sell me?
Yeah.
That's such a natural response, I think, especially from New Yorkers.
Which
Yeah,
I
you just
get
close
it.
your ears.
It makes sense. So you're like, timeout. This doesn't make any sense. But then when you explain to them, like, hey, actually, and then you explain the benefits of it. If you move your charging from this time to this time, it actually is just better for everybody. It helps the grid resilience. Like it literally helps everyone when you do it. They're like, oh, okay, I guess that does make sense. And
I
then
got a solution. Just refer everyone to this podcast so we can explain it, and then
Yeah, there you go.
everyone wins
You
yeah,
here,
get
right?
a referral code.
yeah, exactly. Use your Rob's referral code. That's actually a big thing. That the referral program actually is a huge driver for people participating in the program. It
Oh,
is. It's
that's
it-
worth.
Rob, you have to get on board that. You're the
Oh,
referral
Jesus.
king.
All right. Yes. Probably going to offer that at the end of this podcast in the show notes. Then that's
Yeah, right.
that's good to
One
know.
question I had, just talking about the future. We talk a lot about infrastructure on the podcast, and we talk about how there's going to be challenges as we adopt EVs, across the board. Once we get to these really high adoption rates for the grid and being able to support that kind of charging, and then of course now we're talking about data centers and AI and all of that. Do you see this as actually kind of hedging for the future and actually enabling more EV charging to happen with the current infrastructure while that infrastructure catches up? Like, how do you see this helping future proof and almost kind of delay the trauma that might be coming in terms of upgrading the infrastructure and the grid?
yeah, I mean the future proofing is a lot of it's through that proactive planning that we do, through that mining that data and figuring out where we expect a lot of this energy draw to happen. A lot of I mean, there is some areas for like that you can install EV charging without upgrading some of the existing infrastructure, but for the most part, while Smart Charge helps helps like move a lot of that charging or limit it at certain periods, you still need to make sure that that specific area can handle the energy draw. Like it
Mm,
needs to be able to handle like 100% of the load. So I don't know if it would if the chargers necessary these the Power Ready program obviously is what would
mm.
help with that, right? Helping to cover those utility side costs when they're installing charging. But I don't know if I would say like some of this man charging stuff, the smart charging stuff would help get more infrastructure installed because the
Well,
capacity.
no, more, I mean, I guess less about getting the infrastructure installed and more about maybe even in my mind delaying the need for that upgrade or giving that time to appropriately prepare, because again, I don't know if you heard, again, I live in Spain. We had a massive nationwide blackout in Spain, where the entire electrical grid of the country of Spain went down, and a lot of that was attributed to infrastructure upgrades and the implementation of renewables and also peak time usage. So I wonder if changing people's behaviors in a more long-term way, like, I'm sure Rob's charging behavior has fundamentally changed since he's enrolled. Does that guy give you guys maybe even just a little bit more breathing room
Yeah,
more
yeah,
than anything else? Yeah,
of
yeah,
course, because then it flattens a peak, right? Like, and
exactly.
getting maybe you're not aware, like, and actually coming from Tesla, I was just like, oh yeah, everybody knows that. Like, if you charge during later hours, it uses less energy. But I was just in there for 9 years, so
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
No, I
You're in
think
the
and
normal
bubble.
people
Yeah.
have no idea. They plug a plug into the wall and the energy comes, and they have no idea
Sure. I mean,
anything
that's our
about
behavior,
peak
right,
or off
Scott?
peak.
That's
Yeah.
it's the way we've been living our lives, and
Yeah.
old habits are hard to break. I use electricity as I need it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I could see the challenges there.
well,
Um,
yeah, and I mean, like this, we have some rough estimates, but the Smart Charge program, just New York, saves tens of megawatts during the
Yeah,
peak,
yeah.
and that's a number that doesn't really mean a lot, but that's a ton of energy.
yeah.
No, no, it's huge. That's massive, massive. Well, maybe that comes back to your kind of bringing it to where people are in terms of how do you quantify that for how many houses is that for the regular layperson?
I've off the top of my head, I think like I have. It's hard for me to give an exact number, but like the average home at one time. I mean, you think if they an average home, I think like the most they can use at a time is like 10 kilowatts, and so
Yeah,
a megawatt is 1,000 times that. Like
yeah,
it's
it's
like
crazy.
Yeah, it's like taking a whole neighborhood offline, yeah, and,
yeah,
saying,
Yeah,
"All right, yeah, this is what we're saving." That's incredible, it absolutely is, and the thing which I notice here, there's a correlation here. I do have my Nest smart thermostat, and, yeah, it's like if I had to manually turn it up to, which is what everyone does, you mess that up, you're not doing that right. I'm not gonna be beholden to the utility to constantly I wanna be comfortable at the same time. I don't want this to be a job. It's so easy, right? It's smart, it understands my behavior. You can also program it, set it and forget it, and it works brilliantly well, and I actually love the smart thermostat. It's way better than the old school one that I used to have. And
yeah,
here we are with cars as well, where most cars today have the built-in smart technology. At the very least, you can program, not necessarily smart, but you can set a timer. So you don't when you plug in at 6 p.m. when you get home, you don't need to charge then. You can charge at midnight as long as it's ready when I have to pull out of the driveway in the morning. That's all that matters. And once again, if you incentivize me and you're paying me to do it, well, maybe that's just going to be just enough of a motivator for me to actually set that timer correctly. Yeah, and I imagine that's what's happening. Okay, real quick pivot here, because we just kind of glanced on a little bit with obviously, Smart Charge is encouraging us to charge at the right times, but we have a supply and demand issue with curbside charging, level 2 curbside charging. We've got the Flow Chargers, it's a pilot program, it came out in 2021, wildly successful, massive rates of utilization. I think upwards of 70 to 80%. I can tell you
yeah,
anecdotally from the one around
okay.
the corner from me, it feels like it's 100 times. We need more. We need more power. How are you gonna get it to us, Chris? What's the road plan for curbside charging?
I mean, we need. It's not just curbside charging, right? Like the more charging is kind of a yes and solution. It's like curbside charging, but also like more charging in some of these garages, but also in like multi-families. It just kind of need it
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
Um, and that is something we're actively talking about. I'll tell you, like the initial pilot wrapped up, and like you said, it's like I think the final number is like 70% utilization, which is great, but also a little high.
Mhm, yeah.
I think some like I think roughly Tesla usually looks at upgrading superchargers or adding superchargers when they get to like 40-50% utilization. So yeah, we're definitely looking at expanding that. And right now it's actually I think it's in the DOT's hands right now. So we're waiting for a response from them. The pilot's wrapped up. We've got all the reporting through, and I think the person running the program actually, I think I just saw her post something on LinkedIn as far as like what that was like, what the program, like the final numbers from that look like. But yeah, right now I believe it's in the DOT's hands. But the Power Ready's still looking to add chargers into like those public garages, the parking lots, basically wherever we can get
All right, I'm gonna hit up the DOT next to get the down
them.
low on all of that.
Listen,
Yeah,
it's a collaborative effort, you know.
yeah, of course it is. Listen, it takes a village. You passed the baton, so you've definitely done your part. All right, Chris, I do appreciate you having you on the show over here. Can you share with the listeners at home how they can find out more about SmartCharge?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to do it is just search SmartCharge New York on Google. It's probably the first thing that pops up. But the website I believe is scny.ev.energy, so you can also go to that. Google's the easiest option.
All right, wonderful. Well, listen, Chris, thank you once again for joining us here on the Urban EV podcast. I really do appreciate you sharing your insights and the work you're doing to both encourage EV adoption and help New York charge ahead reliably. Once again, thanks for being here. And to our listeners at home, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a rating, and share it with anyone curious about the future of electric mobility. The road to sustainability starts with the plug, and that's why we're here. We will see you all next week with a new episode of the Urban EV podcast.